Put your palm on the bark of a living tree and hold it there without moving for 10 seconds. Do not squeeze it. Do not stroke it. Just make contact and wait. The first thing your body detects is not nature, it is not calm, it is not energy. It is deformation. The outer layer of your skin bends around a surface that does not yield evenly. Some parts of the bark press into your palm, some parts leave tiny air gaps. Under the skin, a field of mechanical sensors begins converting that pressure pattern into electrical code. The tree has not spoken to you, your hand has become an instrument. This is the mistake most people make when they talk about touching a tree. They begin with the feeling, the body begins with force. Your palm is not a passive sheet of tissue. It is a layered sensor array with moving parts, fluid, collagen, fat, nerve endings, blood vessels, sweat glands, immune cells, and molecular gates that open when physical stress crosses a threshold. A tree trunk, from the point of view of your nervous system, is a complex surface with irregular geometry, low thermal effusivity, chemical residues, microbial passengers, water content, mineral dust, and microscopic vibration signatures. Your body does not detect all of that as a poem. It detects it as pressure, heat flow, friction, stretch, odor molecules, and biological contact. Touch is not a soft sense. Touch is mechanical engineering done by living tissue. When your palm meets bark, the ridges of your fingerprints act like a mechanical filter. Each ridge changes the way force travels through the skin. As your hand settles, the bark pushes back. Newton's third law appears inside your palm. The tree pushes with the same force that your hand applies to it, but because the bark is uneven, the force arrives as a pressure map. Your nervous system reads maps. Some receptors respond to steady indentation. Some respond when the pressure first changes and then go quiet. Some respond to stretch. Some respond to vibration. Together they give your brain a mechanical signature, not just the word rough. The Merkel cell system is one of the slow channels. It is built for edges, points, fine spatial detail, and sustained pressure. When a small ridge of bark presses into your skin, Merkel cells keep reporting. This matters because bark is not like glass. Glass is a single simple boundary. Bark is a terrain. A smooth surface tells your hand almost nothing after the first second. The signal adapts, the system saves energy, but bark keeps producing contrast, a crack here, a raised ridge there, a soft patch of moss. Your hand is not feeling one object. It is sampling a landscape compressed into the size of a palm. Then, the faster channels enter. Meissner corpuscles are sensitive to low-frequency changes and motion across the skin. Pacinian corpuscles sit deeper and act like vibration detectors. If you slide one fingertip across bark, the contact is no longer static. The ridges of your fingerprint strike microscopic features. Release, strike again. That sequence becomes vibration. The skin turns surface geometry into frequency. The fingertip becomes a mechanical pickup. The tree becomes a waveform. This is why texture is not simply shape. Texture is shape over time. If your finger moves slowly, the frequency content changes. If it moves faster, the same bark produces a different temporal pattern. The brain corrects for that. It infers material from a signal that depends on both surface and motion. That is a hard problem. Robots still struggle with it. Your nervous system solves it every time you reach into your pocket and identify a key without looking. A coin has manufactured edges. A tree has growth history written into its surface. Rain, insects, sunlight, wind, freezing, expansion, death of outer cells, new growth underneath. Every year the trunk adds structure. The outer bark cracks because the living cylinder beneath it expands. The surface becomes a record of stress. Your mechanoreceptors do not know the story. They only know the forces, but the forces are the story translated into pressure. This is the first thing your body detects, not tree load. The second thing your body detects is heat flow. This is subtle because people confuse temperature with thermal sensation. A wooden surface and a metal surface can sit in the same room for hours and have the same temperature, but the metal feels colder because it pulls heat out of your skin faster. Wood and bark are poor heat conductors. They do not drain heat from your palm with the same force. Your skin is not a thermometer measuring the object. It is a heat flow sensor measuring the rate at which thermal energy leaves your tissue. Your hand detects not only how cold the bark is, but how aggressively it can take heat from you. The molecules in your skin do not report the word cold, they alter ion flow. Temperature-sensitive proteins in sensory neurons change their probability of opening. Channels such as TRPM8 participate in detecting cooling. When the contact surface changes the rate of heat transfer, Those molecular gates alter electrical activity in the nerve. This is not psychology, it is gating. The tree trunk is also a thermal mass connected to a larger system. On a hot day, shaded bark may feel cooler than the air because it has not absorbed the same radiant load as concrete. On a cold morning, a trunk may feel less brutally cold than metal because the heat flux from your skin is lower. Either way, your palm is reading a thermal circuit. Hand, bark, air, soil, touch closes the circuit. At the point of contact, the skin and bark move toward a shared boundary temperature. Blood flow under your skin keeps bringing heat from your core toward the surface. The bark conducts some of it away. The sweat film on your palm changes the interface. Moisture increases thermal coupling and friction. A dry palm on dry bark is one contact system. A damp palm on damp bark is another. Your body can tell the difference before you name it. The third thing your body detects is friction. Bark grips, it catches, it resists. That resistance stretches your skin laterally. Ruffini endings and other stretch-sensitive pathways report this shear force, the force that tries to drag one layer of tissue across another. When you place your hand on a tree, your nervous system runs a grip algorithm without your awareness. How much force is required to prevent motion? Bark gives a different answer than marble, metal, or glass. A smooth patch may slide. A cracked patch may lock. A mossy patch may compress. Your hand detects these differences through a combination of cutaneous receptors and proprioceptive sensors in your muscles, tendons, and joints. Proprioception is the hidden part of touch. You do not only feel the bark on your skin, you feel the position of your own hand. Muscle spindles report stretch. PIEZO2 channels, part of the mechanosensory system whose discovery helped earn the 2021 Nobel Prize, transduce mechanical force into nerve signals. When you press against a tree trunk, your nervous system is forced to solve your body position relative to something massive, vertical, and stable. The tree becomes a reference frame. In physics, a reference frame is not decoration. It defines measurement. Your body uses reference frames constantly. The ground under your feet, the horizon in your eyes, gravity through your vestibular system, the angle of your shoulder. A tree adds another external boundary. Your palm tells the brain, here is a fixed surface. Your shoulder tells the brain, here is the angle of the arm. Your feet tell the brain, here is the load through the legs. The body integrates these signals without asking permission. This is why placing a hand on a wall in the dark can stabilize you. The wall gives the nervous system another mechanical input. A tree can do the same, not because the tree has a calming field, because the contact adds another sensor channel to the postural control loop. The effect depends on context. A steady palm against a trunk during a quiet walk may reduce uncertainty in your body map. A panicked person pressing against a tree during a storm may not calm down. The mechanism is not mystical. It is a control system receiving another input. Input is not outcome. Now think about the surface itself. Bark is not dead in the simple sense. The outermost bark contains dead cells, but the trunk is part of a living hydraulic machine. Beneath the outer bark are tissues that transport sugars, water, and signals. Your hand cannot directly read sap flow or photosynthesis, but it can detect the consequences of a living surface. A living tree is not processed lumber. Its bark may hold moisture differently. It may support lichens, fungi, algae, bacteria, and plant chemicals. It may be warmer on the sun side and cooler on the shade side. It may smell. Its surface is not just material, it is habitat. The fourth thing your body detects is chemistry, but mainly through smell, not through your palm. Trees release volatile organic compounds like alpha-pinene and beta-pinene. When you stand close enough to touch the trunk, you inhale them. These molecules bind to olfactory receptors in your nose, sending signals through the olfactory bulb into brain regions closely tied to memory, emotion, and autonomic regulation, with less thalamic filtering than most other senses. The signal hits your amygdala and hypothalamus before you know you have smelled anything. Whether skin contact alone delivers a measurable chemical signal has not been proven. The physics supports contact with a chemically active surface. The direct evidence for a palm-to-tree chemical pathway does not yet exist. That does not make the contact meaningless. It means the machinery is still being separated. The fifth thing your body detects, without knowing it, is microbial. Tree bark is a microbial surface. It hosts communities of bacteria, fungi, and algae. The exact community depends on tree species, climate, pollution, moisture, and urban stress. When your hand touches bark, transfer becomes possible. Not guaranteed colonization, not instant immune transformation. Transfer. Microbes move through contact all the time, from soil to skin, from skin to surfaces. Your skin is not sterile, it is an ecosystem. The stratum corneum, the outermost barrier of your skin, is built from dead flattened cells embedded in lipid layers. It sheds, it cracks microscopically, it hosts resident microbes that compete with outsiders. Most arriving microbes do not stay. Some may survive briefly. Some may interact with existing skin communities. The Finnish daycare intervention by Marja Rosland and colleagues is a useful anchor. Researchers added biodiverse natural materials such as forest floor and sod to daycare yards. Over weeks, children showed changes in skin and gut microbiota and immune regulation markers compared with standard urban daycare conditions. That was not one touch, it was repeated exposure. Still, the mechanism points in a direction. Human immune systems did not evolve in sealed rooms. They evolved with soil, plants, decaying leaves, and microbial diversity. The immune system is not only a defense army, it is a calibration system. It needs signals to learn what to ignore and what to attack. A tree trunk may be one tiny port into that older signal environment. Tiny does not mean imaginary. Tiny means the dose matters. There is also research on soil-derived organisms, such as Mycobacterium vaccae. Christopher Lowry at the University of Colorado Boulder reported in mice that immune activation with components of vaccae influenced serotonergic neurons and stress-related behavior. That does not prove that touching bark improves mood in humans. It shows something more precise. Microbial immune signals can communicate with neural systems in mammals under experimental conditions. That is enough to keep the door open, not enough to make a claim stronger than the evidence. The sixth thing your body detects is shaped by attention. This sounds psychological, but it is also mechanical. Attention changes, sensor gain. Your nervous system does not process every signal with equal priority. It amplifies what matters and suppresses what does not. When you intentionally place your palm on bark, you alter the gain settings of your somatosensory system. Pressure signals that were background become foreground. The brain allocates bandwidth. The tree did not change, the sampling strategy changed. This is true of every sensory system. Stare at a horizon and postural sway can change, because visual reference stabilizes balance. Close your eyes and the vestibular and proprioceptive loops become more important. Touch bark and the pressure map from your palm becomes a central input, rather than peripheral noise. The body detects more partly because the brain asks for more, but that does not make it fake. A voltmeter detects voltage only when connected across 2 points. The measurement requires an instrument and a configuration. Your hand on bark is a configuration. Attention is part of the configuration. Stillness is part of it. Pressure is part of it. Change the configuration, and the measurement changes. If you slap a tree and walk away, the signal is brief. Rapid indentation, a short burst of vibration, perhaps pain. If you rest your hand for 60 seconds, slow receptors have time to report sustained pressure. Thermal receptors have time to detect heat flow. Sweat begins to alter friction, and attention begins to sharpen spatial detail. If you slide your fingertips over the surface, vibration channels become more active. The same tree becomes different instruments, depending on how you touch it. A palm press is a pressure experiment. A fingertip stroke is a texture experiment. A forearm rest is a slow touch experiment. The body is not detecting one thing, it is detecting the contact protocol. This is why the phrase touch a tree is too blunt. The nervous system needs parameters. How long? How hard? Which skin surface? Palm or fingertips? Moving or still? Mechanisms live inside parameters. Now there is a layer people usually call grounding. This needs careful handling. The human body is electrically active. Nerves fire through voltage changes across membranes. Skin has conductance that changes with sweat gland activity. Trees also maintain electrical potentials and ion gradients. The Earth has electrical properties. All of that is real physics. But the popular claim that simply touching a tree transfers electrons into your body in a proven therapeutic way is not established at the level often advertised. The existence of electrical systems does not prove a health effect. A voltage can exist without a meaningful current. A current can exist without a clinical outcome. So the accurate statement is this. Touching a tree creates mechanical and thermal contact immediately. It may create some electrical coupling depending on moisture and conditions. Whether that electrical coupling produces a meaningful health effect has not been demonstrated with the same clarity as the basic touch and temperature pathways. The nerve does not require belief, it requires deformation. The thermal channel does not require belief, it requires heat flow. The microbial pathway does not require belief, it requires exposure, dose, and immune recognition. The forest therapy pathway does not require belief. It requires an environment and measurable physiology. This is the evidence calibration. Some mechanisms are proven at the molecular level, some are plausible at the ecological level, some are preliminary, some are overstated in popular language. The strongest evidence begins inside your skin. In 2021, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine went to David Julius and Ardem Patapoutian for discovering how temperature and mechanical force become nerve signals. Patapoutian identified piezo channels, including piezo2, the mechanical transducer involved in touch and proprioception. That is the historical anchor for the entire act of touching bark. Before these discoveries, scientists knew that nerves responded to pressure and temperature. The harder question was how physical force opens a biological gate. How does a push become electricity? The answer is molecular machinery. A mechanically sensitive ion channel is not a metaphor. It is a physical structure embedded in a membrane. When force changes membrane tension, the channel opens. Ions move. Electrical potential changes. If the signal is strong enough, an action potential travels along the nerve. The brain never receives bark, it receives spikes. This is the central fact. You do not feel the tree directly. You feel your nervous system's reconstruction of the collision between your body and the tree. Different clocks are running. Milliseconds for mechanoreceptors, seconds for thermal gradients, minutes for autonomic shifts. Hours to days for immune signaling, weeks for microbiome change. Popular explanations collapse these clocks into one vague feeling. That destroys the mechanism. The body is not doing one thing. It is running parallel systems at different speeds. Think about the bark again. Its outer plates are not designed for your hand. They are protective armor for the tree. Bark reduces water loss, buffers temperature, resists mechanical injury, and helps defend against insects, pathogens, and fire. Its roughness is not there to soothe you. It is a structural solution to the problem of being a living column exposed to weather for decades. When you touch it, your hand is contacting another organism's engineering, not a product, not a polished interface. A tree trunk is a survival surface. It is irregular because growth under constraint produces irregularity. It is hard because protection requires material strength. It is cracked because expansion creates stress. It is chemically active because defense requires chemistry. It is biologically inhabited because exposed surfaces become ecosystems. Your body detects that. It may not know what it means, but it detects the physical consequences. This is why natural surfaces feel information-rich. They are not optimized for human convenience. They contain uncontrolled variation. Your sensory system evolved in a world of uncontrolled variation. Stone, bark, soil, fur, water, leaves, skin, bone, wind, plastic smoothness is historically new. A glass screen is a low-information touch surface compared with bark. It gives your finger a hard plane, uniform temperature, predictable friction, and almost no spatial surprise. A tree gives your hand work. The work is not strenuous. It is computational. The hand samples, the spinal cord filters. The thalamus relays, the cortex maps, the autonomic system adjusts, the immune surface evaluates, the olfactory system samples. The body constructs the object from signals that never contain the object itself. Now return to the 10 seconds at the beginning. Your palm was not resting on a symbol. It was resting on a mechanically complex, thermally specific, chemically active, microbially inhabited surface connected to a living hydraulic structure. Your skin bent around it. Ion channels opened. Heat moved. Friction changed. Pressure maps formed. The spinal cord received the first traffic. The brain built a model. If you were still enough, the signal became clearer. Nothing supernatural had to occur. The machinery was sufficient. The mistake is thinking that cold precision removes meaning. It does not. Precision makes the contact stranger. A tree does not need to send a message for your body to detect it. It only has to exist as matter with texture, temperature, chemistry, and life on its surface. Your body does the rest. Touch one tomorrow. Not because the tree is trying to heal you, because your hand is an instrument, and bark is one of the oldest signals it knows how to read.